If a town has no living residents, but you still hear footsteps, what does that mean? If a door creaks open every night, yet no one has crossed it in 50 years, who's it opening for? Across America, there are hundreds of once thriving towns, now reduced to rusted signs, abandoned gas stations, and rotting churches. But not all of them are completely empty. Some still carry voices in the wind, flickers of light in the night, and something that never left. Today, you'll join me in exploring 10 forgotten ghost towns and the spirits that still refuse to move on. 1. Bodie, California. The town, frozen in time. Once a symbol of the California gold rush dream, the town of Bodie now stands like a motionless time machine in the Sierra Nevada desert. In the late 19th century, it was home to more than 10,000 people, with saloons, brothels, hotels, banks, all as lively as any booming city. But when the gold dried up, the people left, and time stopped. Today, Bodie isn't a ruin. It's preserved in a state of arrested decay. That means everything is still there, just covered in dust and silence. Look through the window of an old home, and you might see a dining table still set, a wine glass tipped to the side, a chair fallen back, as if someone stood up in the middle of dinner and never returned. Visitors say that once you enter Bodie, the air changes. The wind doesn't carry sand. It carries memories suspended in the air. You might hear a door creak, though there's no breeze, or distant footsteps from a house hundreds of feet away. What makes Bodie truly eerie is the often whispered tale of the Bodie curse. Legend says that if you remove anything from the town, even a stone or a rusty nail, you'll take bad luck with you. So much so that the Bodie Museum has an entire room filled with hundreds of returned objects, each packaged with apology letters detailing accidents, job losses, and illnesses that followed the visit. Bodie has no residents, but if you stand still long enough, you'll feel it's still alive, just not for the living anymore. 2. Rhyolite, Nevada. The town of Dead Light, not far from Las Vegas, on the edge of Death Valley National Park, sits a town once bright with promise, now lit only by moonlight through shattered windows. Rhyolite. Once called the jewel of the desert, during the early 1900s gold boom, Rhyolite exploded with electricity, theaters, banks, even a stock exchange. But just a decade later, it collapsed as quickly as it rose. Today, Rhyolite is little more than crumbling walls, skeletal brick frames, and silence. But what sets it apart is the white statues. At the town's entrance, a group of artists installed eerie sculptures, faceless ghost-like figures, a man on a bicycle, a ghostly Last Supper, all cast in pale plaster. And when the moonlight hits them at night, they appear to watch you from every angle. Tourists say that on full moon nights, standing among the ruins, their flashlights flicker, GPS devices glitch, and they feel as if they're being watched, not by art, but by something older. Some claim to have seen figures in old-time clothing walking between buildings. When they call out, no reply. But seconds later, they hear a whisper in their ear, "Don't say my name." In Rhyolite, what remains isn't just stone and dust. It's a layer of time, where light still filters through forgotten years, carrying with it spirits who haven't accepted that their time is over. 3. St. Elmo, Colorado. A town that's watched but not alive. Tucked into Colorado's Sawatch Range, St. Elmo is a silver mining town abandoned since the 1920s. But those who visit swear this place was never truly empty. At the center of town, stands a weathered wooden hotel. On the second floor, behind a faded curtain on a crumbling balcony, they say you can often spot an old woman standing, still, silent, watching. According to local legend, her name was Annabelle Stark, daughter of the hotel's owner. When the town collapsed, her family refused to leave. They stayed for years after everyone else was gone. And when her parents died, Annabelle remained, until no one even remembered she had once been alive. Nearby residents say the hotel lights still glow at night, even though there's no power, especially in the second-floor room where Annabelle used to sleep. Some claim to see lights drifting between rooms, figures moving. But when they approach, the doors are locked from the inside. Many tourists report being woken at midnight by knocks on their cabin doors. When they open them, no one's there. But as soon as they close the door again, the knocking starts again, this time from the window. St. Elmo looks like a town fast asleep, but in truth, it's awake, quiet, patient, as if waiting for someone to return and finish what was never done. These first 3 towns lie hidden in desert winds, mountain silence, and the remnants of time. But what truly haunts them isn't the isolation. It's the feeling that you were never actually alone. In part 2, we'll journey to towns abandoned by fire, flood, collapse, and something no one dares name. Because these towns haven't just been forgotten. They've begun, reminding us they're still here. 4. Centralia, Pennsylvania. The fire that never dies. Centralia is one of the most famous ghost towns in America. Not because of economic collapse, but because it has been burning underground for over 60 years. In 1962, a trash fire at an abandoned dump spread into the coal mines beneath the town. And from that moment on, the fire never stopped. The ground cracked, asphalt melted. White smoke still rises from the earth like the breath of a sleeping monster. The government had to evacuate the population. Over 1,000 residents left. Houses were torn down. Only a handful of elderly locals refused to leave what was once their home. Strangely enough, those who return often claim that something still moves within the smoke. A vague figure, formless and flickering, appears for a moment, then slips back into the cracks of the ground. One visitor reported hearing church bells ringing from the cemetery, even though the church collapsed in the 1980s. Another said that when standing near a large fissure, they could hear whispers rising from deep below, as if the town wasn't just burning, but singing a song of itself. Centralia isn't just a dead town. It's a fire still holding the soul of what once lived. 5. Terlingua, Texas. A ghost orders at midnight. In the heart of the Big Bend Desert, Terlingua was once a booming mercury mining town in the early 20th century. But toxins, brutal weather, and a crashing market turned it into a heap of crumbling bricks, rusted metal, and long stretches of silence. Today, only a few residents remain. Among them is the owner of a strange bar still open among the ruins. Its weathered sign reads, Terlingua Trading Company. The owner says that every night, exactly at midnight, the door creaks open, without the bell ringing. A man in an old cowboy hat and dusty duster walks in, sits in the corner, and says nothing. He never orders, never speaks. And if the bartender turns away for a moment, he's gone. Some guests report that the mirror in the restroom fogs over, even though the desert air outside is bone dry. On the glass, a faint handprint appears, as if someone wiped away the dust after years. Not far from the bar is the old Terlingua cemetery, its crooked headstones blending with stone and sand, Many say they've heard footsteps crunching through the dirt, but no one is ever there. Terlingua isn't completely abandoned. It's a place where the past refuses to stay quiet. It comes back. It wants its old seat. At midnight. 6. Cahawba, Alabama. The city, drowned in silence. Cahawba was once Alabama's very first capital, a bustling town with churches, courthouses, a newspaper, and a lively port. But after repeated floods swallowed the soft ground beneath it, the people left. Buildings collapsed, and everything was slowly taken over by water and time. Today, Cahawba is an open archaeological site where you can still see the remains of old foundations, an ancient well, and the decaying shell of a church lost in the trees. Visitors say that when standing near the old well, especially on full moon nights, they hear a soft voice rising from underground. No clear language, no rhythm, just someone telling a story. One that never ends. One researcher claimed that while camping near the ruined church, he heard footsteps across brick floors, the soft creak of church doors, and for a brief moment, a choir, even though the building was barely standing. Locals believe that every Sunday morning, the old souls still return for service, not out of faith, but because they don't yet realize the town was left behind. 7. Silver City, Idaho. The forgotten notes of a silver empire. Tucked deep within Idaho's Owyhee Mountains, Silver City was once one of the largest silver mining centers in the West. With over 250 buildings, it had electricity, telephones, and newspapers, even before many areas had railroad tracks. But when the silver veins dried up, the people vanished. House by house, inn by inn, shop by shop. They were sealed and left. But one thing remained: the sound. One photographer shared how, on a cold winter morning, he visited the abandoned hotel to capture the sunrise. As he walked down the second-floor hallway, he heard a piano playing in the ballroom, an old melody, broken and hesitant, like someone practicing. When he entered the room, the piano was there, covered in dust. Strings snapped, no one around. The hotel windows fog up each morning, though there's no one inside and no source of heat. A group of visitors once saw child-sized footprints in the dust across a table, fading out halfway across the floor. Silver City has no signs pointing to it, but once you arrive, you'll feel it. Everything is waiting, not to come alive, but to let you hear the final notes of a place that refuses to go silent. These towns weren't just abandoned, they were left ajar, as if waiting for someone to come back and close the door. But in the final part, we'll enter places even stranger, where time runs backward, where reality blurs, and where the only one who sees you might not be among the living. Are you ready to step into ghost towns that never let you leave the same? 8. Jerome, Arizona. The town on the edge of the abyss. Jerome clings to the cliffs of Arizona's Verde Mountains, once a booming copper mining hub with over 10,000 residents, now home to just a few hundred, and some uninvited shadows. Jerome is known not just for its stunning views, but also for its unexplained phenomena, most centered around the Grand Hotel, which once operated as an asylum in the early 20th century. Locals claim that every night, at exactly 4:13 a.m., the hallway light on the third floor flickers on for 3 seconds, then shuts off. No one is seen on security footage. The electrical system has no faults. And eerily enough, 4:13 was the recorded time of death of the hospital's head doctor, who vanished without a trace in 1936. Guests have also reported sightings of the Lady in Red, a slender figure with long hair covering her face, standing silently on the west-facing balcony. If you call out to her, she turns, but there are no eyes, just two black holes. One artist who stayed there said that every time he stepped into the second-floor hallway, space seemed to warp. Sounds were muffled, his watch froze. And when he walked out of the hotel, his wristwatch still read 4:13. Jerome doesn't forbid you from visiting. It just doesn't promise you'll leave the way you came. 9. Elkmont, Tennessee. The cabins that refuse to age. Hidden deep within the Great Smoky Mountains, Elkmont was once a luxurious retreat for the wealthy elite in the early 1900s. But when land leases expired, the government reclaimed the area, and the town was abandoned, swallowed by the forest. You'd expect nature to rot it away, but strangely, many cabins remain eerily preserved. Curtains still hang clean. Towels in the bathroom are dust-free. Clocks stopped at 5:11 and have stayed frozen for over 40 years. A guide recalled entering a small cabin and hearing clinking dishes, a chair sliding, and someone quietly laughing. But the cabin was empty. No sound system. And the most chilling part, the laugh sounded like his own voice, younger, from a moment he never lived. Many visitors report spatial loops, entering one cabin, exiting through the back, only to return to the same front porch. The door was left open, the curtain was swaying, and an old radio softly playing a tune from 1932. Elkmont doesn't greet you with fear. It whispers memories that aren't yours, yet already live in your mind. 10. Ashcroft, Colorado. The town where your shadow stays behind. Once the highest silver mining town in the West, Ashcroft sat over 8,000 feet above sea level. It boomed for a few short years, then died out, like a campfire in the cold mountain dark. Today, it's a row of silver-gray wooden buildings, rotting, but still upright. And when you step inside, the wind stops, sound vanishes, and your shadow doesn't follow. A photographer once captured his travel companion walking through the town, and in the frame, a third figure stood behind him. Stranger still, the group only had two people, and that third figure was him, in different clothes, with a different face, like him from another time. Another visitor said that as they stood on the main street, a curtain lifted on the second floor of a nearby house. Behind the glass, a pair of eyes stared out, and slowly, the curtain fell. No one had lived there since 1948. And some say that as they drive away from Ashcroft, they catch a glimpse of themselves, still standing there in the rearview mirror. Ashcroft doesn't hold you with chains. It keeps you with a version of yourself, caught in another time. The 10 towns you've just passed through aren't just locations on a map. They are fractures in time, places where the past hasn't been buried, and the present doesn't dare get too close. Some burn without end, some drown in voices, and some keep your shadow without giving it back. Do you have the courage to spend one night where history refuses to be silent? Comment below. Which ghost town haunted you the most? And where should we go next? Sunken villages, abandoned hospitals, or tunnels where voices still echo from behind the walls? Because sometimes, the places most forgotten are the ones that remember your name best.